Bean Center as we take a look at our starting lineups for both teams. It's the Gamecocks and the Cougars in this OVC matchup for Jacksonville State. We mentioned Malcolm Drumright in the open. He starts alongside Jamal Gregory, Jason Burnell, Christian Cunningham, and Norbertus Giga for the 17-7 Gamecocks. As for the Cougars at 7-15 overall, it's Christian Ellis, David McFarland, Justin Benton, Jalen Henry, and Keenan Simmons. Our officials today, Greg Renegarby, Colin Dotson, and Eric Lowe. As the fans inside on this community day here in Edwardsville are ready for us to get underway. Joe, in a matchup like this, SIUE, considerable underdogs in this one. How important will the first couple minutes be to get off to a good start?
Well, I think that's exactly right. And like you said, underdogs, yes, but if you're Jacksonville State, you also have to assume that you're playing a desperate team at SIUE because the Cougars need that win.
And it is the Cougars in the home whites who win the tap. Jalen Henry able to hit the mid-range. It was a big struggle the other night for Henry. Just 2 of 14 from the field. Has to be good for his confidence.
You and I were talking before the game, and it's those type of shots that weren't going down for him on Thursday night. So even it seems little. That first shot going through, getting it through the basket, that's a good sign for Jalen.
So here are the Gamecocks, 8-3 in the OVC. It's Giga, the big man, who leaves a little shot in the paint short, going over Henry. So 2-0 SIUE. The Cougars bring it ahead. Coming off a 1-point loss over Tennessee Tech the other night. David McFarland had a chance to win the game at the buzzer with a 3, came up just short.
And it really wasn't the shot that they wanted, but it's the shot that they got. The inbound came from midcourt, and what Coach Harris actually told me is he's not sure that Justin Benton could see over his defender anybody but David McFarland, who was actually right in front of our spot here, right on the right wing.
On the drive, there's Drumright, but leaves it strong. Just a bit too strong there, going to the glass. So it's 2-0 SIUE, just over a minute in. Jacksonville State did get off to a slow start the other night, won by 19 at Eastern Illinois, but Joe in that game only led by 2 at the half.
Yeah, and then they had a great second half and really extended it out, and that was something that that's something that the Cougars are going to have to be wary of. They're going to have to look for that.
Nice find, and it's Simmons on the dish from Benton.
Keenan Simmons, I think, is another important part of this offense, and he had a season-high 9 points on Thursday against Tennessee Tech. If you can get Keenan Simmons going, and certainly on that baseline and underneath the basket, he can be really big, I think, for the team.
So the Cougars scored the first 4 points in our opening couple minutes, as Jacksonville State has struggled scoring at times this year. A really solid defensive group. And there's Giga. 0 for 3 the start for Jacksonville State.
John Harris said on Thursday, Ben, that it was the best defensive effort of the season. He also liked the defensive effort on Saturday a week ago at Belmont, so he feels like defensively this team is on the uptick. This team is improving.
And the Cougars put it all together today. McFarland way off on a deep 3, and it's Gregory to corral the long rebound. Jamal Gregory takes a hard spill as he's fouled, the junior from Washington, D.C. As we get a stoppage with 17:21 to go in the first half, we get a look at Ray Harper in his second year in Jacksonville, Alabama, formerly at Western Kentucky, and a very successful Division II and NAIA head coach.
And he was a Division II foe of SIUE in the old Great Lakes Valley Conference, so he's very familiar with Edwardsville and playing the Cougars here.
4-time Division II Coach of the Year, won a couple national titles at his alma mater in Kentucky Wesleyan, and led Jacksonville State to their first ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. Was also the Gamecocks' first OVC championship last year, but earliest struggle on offense as they turn it over. McFarland brings it up for the Cougars. And that good defensive effort from the other night carrying over, at least so far in our opening few minutes. Here's Henry, pushes off, and they call it on to the SIUE big man. So Henry calling for the push-off as we look at SIUE and John Harris, his third year, former Conzo Martin assistant. They've been very close. They've kept in close communication this year. Martin, his first year just down the road at Mizzou.
And Coach Harris pays really close attention to what he's doing down there as well. Still keeps up with how Conzo Martin is doing and how Missouri is doing.
He told us they talk about once a week or so, even in the middle of the year. And this drought continues for Jacksonville State. Burnell comes up short. McFarland hard to the cup, too strong. Ellis can't get the tip. A third chance goes. Simmons gets the final tip in as McFarland is down and in pain on the floor.
I don't know if he took an elbow or a knee to the midsection, but...
And the trainers will be called.
Catch his breath.
Big cluster of bodies there after McFarland made that initial drive. Ellis couldn't get the tip. And it was Simmons who ended up finishing it off. Let's take a look.
Simmons got the basket. You can see the first tip there from Ellis, and then Simmons gets that big left hand in there, and it was hard to see the contact. And just in the melee there, he might have got stepped on.
He went down right away.
I think he got stepped on. It was after he had tried the initial shot, and he ended up right underneath all those bodies, and he just got stepped on.
So the crowd gives a nice hand to McFarland, who has played so well over the last 5 games. And coming off, Joe, an injury at the start of the year, which kind of curbed his integration into this SIUE lineup. But as we talked about in our last telecast a couple weeks ago, McFarland has really been good since getting back into shape and fully healthy. The first-year player transferring in from East Mississippi Community College.
Well, you mentioned that he was fighting some leg issues, but as Coach Harris told us too, there is that integration is a good word I think that you use there, because there is that time to kind of get used to the speed of the Division I game. So he's dealing with that, dealing with the injury, and really it all kind of came together after the semester break.
Off the bump, Drumright fades away and puts Jacksonville State on the board after missing the Gamecocks' first 4 shots. This Gamecock team, as we get a foul called on the floor, a team that, talking to Coach Ray Harper, they really feel like they're in a position to make another deep run this year. But off a slow start, it's the Cougars who lead it 6-2 early. Cougars won back on New Year's Day in this building, 2015, the last Cougar victory in the series, and have played some close games in the past couple of years, Joe.
It's been primarily closer games. There's been a couple games that are double-digit points, but for the most part, it's been close games.
And of course, the Gamecocks, a program that didn't have a whole lot of success until last year, Ray Harper's first season in charge, when they made that run as the 4 seed, upsetting Belmont in the semifinals, beat UT Martin to go to the NCAA tournament. And they really feel like, as you see Harper there, a lot of momentum carried over from that squad last year. He says they're deeper this year. They feel a lot more confident. Some of those returners who have the experience, Joe, getting to play in an NCAA tournament game. Out of the break, it's Kinchin just checking into the game for SIUE, and he's short on a 3.
Henry just missed that board as well.
So Jacksonville State off a very slow start. Missed the first 4 field goals before Drumright hit before the break. Now it's Burnell on the back down. That one won't go. And Simmons corrals the board.
Christian Cunningham's lucky to have a foul there. He was all over Keenan Simmons, and somehow Simmons was able to hold on to the rebound.
So Daniel Kinchin in for the first time as Ellis runs the point. Here is Henry, straight away 3, and he knocks it down. Much better performance so far from Henry as opposed to Thursday night.
Well, you mentioned it before, so he's already got as many made baskets from the field tonight in 2 attempts as he did in 16 attempts on Thursday night against Tennessee Tech.
Into the top 20 now all-time among Cougar career point scorers, Jalen Henry. And it's SIUE looking to pull the upset, up an early 7, but there's an answer from Gregory.
Made his own space right there. Just kind of elevated enough and knocked it down.
Former South Carolina Gamecock, several former Division I Power 5 players in this Jacksonville State program who went the JUCO route, transferred, then came in to JSU. Kinchin, in the meantime, off the mark. And there's Gregory again. Too strong from the elbow, and then Cunningham all over the back of Simmons, called for the foul. And so Cunningham, after barely missing out on that foul a moment ago, picks it up. You see Henry on one end and then Gregory on the other. And actually on the scoreboard, they initially ruled a 3. Now have changed it to a 2-pointer on Gregory. So we'll make it 9-4. And Cunningham forced to take a seat. No points, 2 fouls, Joe. That's a big loss for the leading field goal shooter and shot blocker in the OVC, Christian Cunningham.
Now if you're SIU, you have to take advantage of this. When you have this time with him off the floor, you got to try to extend this advantage here.
So Ashton Spears comes into the game, along with Marlon Hunter for Jacksonville State, trying to put pressure now on the Cougars. Spotting up for 3, rattling in and out, that's Benton. So with a couple subs for Jacksonville State, they are, as I mentioned, much deeper this year and will go 8-9 deep as we get a foul called before the shot on Brandon Jackson. There's the look at Drumright. Was the MVP of the OVC tournament last year, had a huge postseason, and it's rolled right along into this year. Averaging about 14 a game for Jacksonville State. And should correct, by the way, they had a little discrepancy on the score. It is back to, they did credit the 3-pointer for Gregory, so went back and forth. It is now 9-5. As Kinchin is called for the foul. Trying to hand check Marlon Hunter. And they do call it in the act of shooting, so it's Hunter who, like Gregory, started off at a different D1 school, was with Ray Harper at West Kentucky. He was suspended from the team, then transferred to Odessa Community College in Texas, and has been providing some good production as the 6th man in this Gamecock rotation. But early on, Joe, the scoring really been a struggle for Jacksonville State. That's been the one area they've struggled in this year. Have had some ugly, grinded out games.
But they've been able to win those games. I think that's the key, is that despite having, maybe some struggles or a slow start as they did on Thursday, they're able to come out on top.
It's Henry on the drive, draws contact and scores, going past Giga. A nice little double clutch there from Henry right in the paint.
It is amazing to think about the way he struggled on Thursday, and then now the fact that he is so good, at least so far tonight.
McFarland, by the way, called on the foul, so the foul starting to pile up a bit. 5th on SIUE. I guess it shouldn't surprise us too much, though. Joe Henry has been so consistent. This would, assuming he gets just a couple more points, would be his 20th double-digit game, as we're in game 23 this year for SIUE.
Yeah, again, I think it speaks to his maturity and how he's grown as a basketball player, that he's able to put Thursday behind him and come right back out and do what he does.
On the pick and roll, there is Giga.
Nice touch. We have a technical foul right after the play, I think, on Jason Burnell.
Called immediately down low after Giga able to finish, and the officials will get together. And you see Burnell over there, he immediately reacted like they called it on him, and
technical foul call on Jacksonville State, number 14.
That will be the case. So let's get another look here after the nice pick and roll between Hunter and Giga.
We said something, or was there contact?
Yeah, a little shove to Ellis. Man, they called it right away.
Second game in a row that's happened in the Cougars' favor. It happened on Thursday night against Tennessee Tech, and I think it was, I don't know if it was contact after the basket or if it was talking or something, but it was a similar situation, and SIUE was able to take advantage. And it was Daniel Kinchin on Thursday as well.
Kinchin has now made 34 of his last 35 free throws, so it's basically free points if you pick up a Tech. And that's what happens to Burnell, a first-year player who's been pretty good as well for Jacksonville State.
In the top 20 in free throws, or free throw percentage now, and he's up over 90%.
It's been a real asset for the Cougars despite Kinchin. He's been really spotty shooting the ball, a streaky outside shooter, but despite some of those inconsistencies, Joey's made up for it at the line.
Yeah, without a doubt, and he's also been distributing the ball much better. He had 7 assists on Thursday night.
Right on the line there was Drumright trying to save the ball after that deflection. And it stays with the Cougars, 12 on the shot clock. And the big challenge coming in today against Jacksonville State. Lead the OVC in defensive points allowed, field goal percentage, and three-point shooting. They have really locked down opponents all year, but the Cougars having success. Ellis off the mark. Jackson able to knock that ball off Giga, and it stays Cougar basketball.
You are not going to see Christian Ellis rise up and try a three like that on a lot of occasions. That's only his 12th attempt all year. He didn't hit a three at all last year.
Henry, he'll shoot from downtown, and he hits it. Double digits for Henry, only 8 minutes in.
20th time this year, you mentioned it, but just so consistent. Today, he has been really, really good.
Now, you mentioned, too, Joe, the defensive output from this Cougar team has really improved. Rebounding as well today, out rebounding the Jaguars, or the Gamecocks, rather, 9-4 early. As we head to break. So a good start for SIUE at home thanks to Jalen Henry. 10 early points, and the Cougars lead by 8.
Hi, I'm John Euler. When you need an electrician, make sure your contractor is using workers from IBEW local.
Mid-range jumper, you mentioned it. He's absorbing the contact underneath. He's getting free and knocking it down from long range. He's vintage Jalen Henry, at least senior Jalen Henry.
The Springfield, Illinois native. And I think he knows, along with Simmons, those are the two senior leaders who have been through so much in this SIUE growth phase, and only a few more games left in this season. Hard to believe, Joe. We're already coming down towards the home stretch, and they are desperate to make an OVC tournament.
And I'm certain that Jalen and Keenan would like to have another appearance in the tournament. They were there as freshmen, but then they've not been back in the last couple of years.
Henry is called for the foul. That's his second now. 6th team on SIUE.
That's going to hurt. Now you're talking about a good chunk of time here in the first half that you're going to be without Jalen Henry.
Off the catch and shoot. Hunter too strong. Just checking in is Jakara Cross, and he gets the offensive board for Jacksonville State, who cannot buy a bucket early. Have really struggled as Giga unable to hit from outside.
Meanwhile, rebounds are now 10-4 in favor of SIUE.
Giga was a star in the NCAA tournament, scored 30 in a 15-point loss to Louisville on national TV last year. Has struggled a little bit, though, in his senior campaign. And Jacksonville State struggling to get into a rhythm. Jackson tries to make it 10 and does with a foul. Getting hit on the arm by Giga. How about the strong finish from the sophomore from East St. Louis?
Went up between two red jerseys right there. Took the contact. Still got the shot to fall. Now he gets to try to extend this double-digit lead.
And does so. Jackson, we've talked about Henry a lot so far today. Jackson started a couple times for Jalen when he was injured earlier in OVC play. And so somebody, as we've mentioned on numerous occasions, that John Harris looking for that next guy to step up, and Jackson's certainly a candidate.
Brandon's been very good in OVC play. He's 5th on the team in scoring in league play, and if Jalen is going to be hampered with fouls today, and again, we've seen it on a couple of times this season, then Brandon Jackson can be a key to the Cougars continuing to have success without Jalen on the floor.
In the meantime, another foul called. It's on Simmons. So both senior starters, Simmons and Henry, with 2 fouls. That was on the floor, but still it's a 1-and-1 for Jakara Cross.
Substitution for the Cougars, checking number 1, DJ Jackson. Jackson for Simmons.
And so Cross at the line, the sophomore from Atlanta. That was a point that Coach Harper made. Cross is basically the 11th guy off the bench this year after being really the 6th man a season ago for the Gamecocks. And he hits the free throw. Start your day with First Things First. Join Chris Carter, Nick Wright, and Jenna Wolf for the best morning sports show on television. First Things First, weekdays on FS1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Your morning routine just got a whole lot more fun. As Cross goes 1 of 2, rebound for Jackson. And the Cougars maintain a double-digit advantage against one of the better teams in the OVC. Certainly have to consider them a favorite in the OVC tournament coming up next month. And so with a bunch of teams grouped at the bottom right now, SIUE entering today in a tie for 8th. Any win is a big one, and this would certainly be huge, as it's Benton off the mark. Foul called underneath, and this is going on Jacksonville State. And it's the second on Giga. So both bigs now, Giga and Cunningham with 2 fouls, and that's been the big story here in the first half.
On both sides. So you're talking about 2 from each side that have the 2 fouls already. So you're also, at least you assume, establishing, the way this game's going to be called by the officials.
Ray Harper trying to encourage his team. Rarely do they give up 40 and a half. Have almost gotten halfway to that point, and really on the mark now is McCoy comes in, and Jalen McCoy hits the triple.
You said quick start, good start. How important would that be? This is almost a dream start for SIUE right now. Playing really well defensively, but knocking down shots on the offensive end. And talk about putting it all together. At least for the first 10 minutes, it has all been there for SIUE.
And it's transitioned into a solid defensive effort as well. Tyreek Edwards just checking in. He gets all the way right past McCoy, and Edwards, again, another example of the depth for Jacksonville State, a former walk-on in Edwards, who snaps the 11-1 run. DJ Jackson just in as well for the Cougars, with Ellis getting ready to check in at the next whistle. So both coaches will have to do some shuffling here with 2 of their starters picking up 2 fouls. McCoy way off as Jackson unable to tip that back out.
Couldn't hang on there.
And it's an offensive foul called on Edwards as the Gamecocks try to get out in transition.
How about Jalen McCoy missing a shot? Really not a very good shot on this end. He races back in time to get his feet set and take that charge.
So we take a look at Edwards.
Wow. I mean, it was awfully close. He shifted right into place, and Cougars may be fortunate to have a charge, but the point remains. He got himself back and got himself in front of the driver.
Both teams now in the bonus. Second turnover for each side as it's DJ Jackson in the game. That 3 well off the mark. And so the Cougars settling for some outside looks, but they've benefited from some sloppy Jacksonville State play. That one just dribbled right off the knee of Gregory. Ray Harper, he's been through a lot of games, Joe, in his career, going back to the D2 days, as you mentioned, and facing SIUE. He knows about the end of these road trips. I mean, they were in Eastern Illinois Thursday night and have looked slow early. And it committed another foul right here.
And Ben, there's really no easy road trip from Jacksonville State in the OVC. They're far from most every school. Get a look here and see, what the call was underneath. And the call actually came before that shot attempt, so the call was against Cam Martin. But there's a lot of whistles on play underneath the basket so far tonight.
Cam Martin, the freshman, just checking in, so already Jacksonville State has had to go deep into the bench with 11 players getting in. All 14 on the roster got in the game Thursday night. And Jackson, only a 58% foul shooter, but able to get both. And the Cougars perfect at the line so far, 5 for 5, lead it by 13. After losing in heartbreaking fashion Thursday night, trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. Drumright left open, but rims in and out for 3. Battle for the board. It comes to Martin, who's able to reset after DJ Jackson looked to have that ball secured.
Boy, it'll tell you, though, how Jacksonville State's struggling when Drumright has an open look and he can't get it to fall.
Another foul called as it comes off the ball, and it results in more free throws. Brandon Jackson, the guilty party this time.
Neither team really is having an easy time under the basket. Whatever every single thing is being called.
Martin can't connect on the front end. Just a 56% foul shooter. It's one area where Jacksonville State does struggle. I'm sure they're looking to improve on that as they have their NCAA tournament aspirations, but only about 71%. So the Cougars continue to lead in what's been a sluggish, heavy foul affair in the first half.
DJ Jackson.
Both Jacksons in on that play.
DJ did a great job to tip that rebound right out to Christian Ellis.
There is DJ bodying up and draws a foul on Cross as we go to break. So SIUE frustrating Jacksonville State in every way, leading by 13. 1-3 hit from Jalen McCoy. 8 mark of the first half in Edwardsville. We are getting ready for Cardinals spring training Wednesday night on Cardinals Warm-Up here on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals Warm-Up brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers Wednesday at 6 on Fox Sports Midwest. Ben Wilson back alongside Joe Potvin. A very ragged, choppy half. Both teams into the bonus here at about the 10-minute mark. And it's really benefited SIUE, who have come ready to play today against the favorited Gamecocks of Jacksonville State, and the visitors have just not been able to settle in at all.
And as we talked about before, they weren't very good Thursday, SIUE. They missed a few free throws, or too many, and of course, as I say that, DJ Jackson bounced it, but they've been good from the free throw line at least early, and at least the way it appears they're going to be calling the game, they're going to need free throws again tonight.
Jackson does get 1 of 2. Both teams in a bit of a scoring drought. It's been that way the whole half for Jacksonville State. We're 6-4 on the road this year, winners of their last 2. Drumright has gotten off to a slow start. Only a couple points in his first 10 minutes. So with 2 starters for each team with 2 fouls. Neither bench unit has been able to garner much production, and that continues. It is Jamal Gregory who travels, and the 4th Jacksonville State turnover already.
I thought Tyreek Edwards should have just taken it to the basket. He turned the corner right there, and he ended up pitching it out into the corner, but I think he had an opportunity to get to the hoop.
So here is SIUE up 14, largest margin they've had today. After a hot shooting start early, McFarland right down Main Street, and he gets the finger roll.
Just a little bit of a screen up top, giving him enough space to get down the lane.
Well, we talked about, as you were saying, Joe, how big a first 4 or 5 minute stretch would be for the Cougars, and that is extended now into coming up on 14, 15 minutes. And Burnell get an answer. Yes, and a foul. So finally getting some production for Jacksonville State. They've missed a ton of shots close in on the basket, and here Jackson called for the personal.
Well, like we said, the officials established early that underneath the basket, they were going to blow the whistle today, and they have blown it a lot, and both teams are going to be at the free throw line a lot if it continues on this way.
So that ends a drought of over 3 minutes without a point as DJ Jackson picks up the personal. And a 3-point play good from Burnell. It's Ellis, draws contact. Right back at him with a 3-point play.
And Ellis has been so much more confident going to the basket. We see him a lot going and finishing with that left hand, but that's not how he does it here. He goes right straight up, tosses that one up off glass, and knocks it down despite the contact right in front of the basket. There's no question that time Cam Martin wasn't close to set.
It's now 2 on Martin. So Ellis, Phil, what have you seen out of him, that transition from the struggles early in the year to how well he's played in the past couple weeks now?
I think a lot of it just is confidence, and you have a couple of good games, you get a little bit more confident in what you're doing. Like I said, that going straight down the middle there, that's a little different for him. He's real comfortable going off to his left and finishing with the left hand, kind of running through the basket there, but he's been better in front of the basket. He's been much better distributing the basketball.
And now it's Martin to get the answer. So both teams starting to pick up offensively. With the Cougars who led by as many as 16 just a couple minutes ago. Brandon Jackson into a crowd, loses the ball, and then right in the corner, we get a travel call. And it infuriates Ray Harper in Jacksonville State, who just have not been able to get anything going today after getting the steal. I believe that was Burnell in the corner.
Well, I realize, you know, the bench was upset, but that's where guys have got to be careful. I think the emotion got the best of them, and they rise up off the bench, but you're right next to the official there, and we've already seen a technical called, you know, for something on the court. You don't want to lose your mind and get a technical called there.
Here's Kinchin. Drains it from outside, right in front of the bench.
Well, a good start is one thing, Ben, but the Cougars really have just kept their foot on the gas, and I think that's the mindset you have to take if you're SIUE. There is no let-up. There can't be any let-up. The margin of error is not there for this team.
Another foul called on the drive from Gregory. And it's gotten the crowd into this too as well, Joe. I mean, the struggles this year for SIUE, the crowd has been desperate to get into a game like this. And when you have a draw like Jacksonville State, an NCAA tournament team, fans come out and they want to see a good game. They've had it so far. Gregory hitting the first. Again, look at that.
How far out he was here. Look at that. He is closer to the sideline than he is the three-point line right there, which is not a surprise. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody because Daniel Kinchin's done that all year long. He is the guy that can make an ugly shot, a what you might call a bad shot. He is perfectly comfortable with jacking some of those up from long range, but just, a huge three to keep this margin double digits.
Maurice Dunlap checking in for Jacksonville State as Billowette comes in here for the Cougars, and despite some of those inconsistencies we talked about, still 5th in the OVC in three-point makes, as now Ellis draws contact inside on Drumright and goes to the line.
I think that gives you an idea of some of the just sheer volume of three-pointers he was knocking down, especially earlier in the year, because he has been much more inconsistent, and I think he's changed a little bit as a player. We don't see the sheer number of shots. You see a little bit of a better game, all-around game, I think, from Daniel Kinchin. So where the outside shooting and the shooting in general may have dropped off a little bit, we see him getting to the basket and getting to the free throw line. We see him distributing the ball a little bit better.
With that last foul, Malcolm Drumright now with 2 personals. So everybody seemingly in foul trouble as Ellis goes 1 of 2, lead back up to 16 for SIUE.
Might be a battle of the bench here this afternoon, and right now that's being won by SIUE too, 14-6.
That show I think might be the biggest shock because Jacksonville State routinely goes 11 deep.
It's huge, right?
And they played 12 already today. Here a travel called before the shot. Ray Harper irate over on the sideline as he keeps trying to shuttle in guys, seeing what works. Gregory will come back in here for Hunter.
I was amazed when you look at some of the pass box scores and you see that there are guys, and it's not just, getting 1 or 2 minutes. You're talking about 11 guys that are getting 10 or 11 minutes a night for this team, for Jacksonville State.
Brandon Jackson, little baby hook is too strong. Burnell pulls down the board. So can Jacksonville State get a spark? Down 16 on the road. And with 3 starters saddled with 2 personals all on the bench. Burnell, he's been good as of late the last couple weeks for Jacksonville State, but a bit too strong on that pass trying to find Martin. And the turnovers really piling up, 7th already on the Gamecocks, and Ray Harper. At a certain point, Joe, not too much you can say with the poor start that they've had.
You scratch your head a little bit. They're not shooting terrible. They're shooting 40%. They've hit 1 of 3 threes, but on the other side, the Cougars are up near 50%. They've done a really good job defensively, forcing turnovers from Jacksonville State.
Gamecocks usually a pretty good ball control team, only about 12.5 turnovers a game, as Ellis can't connect there.
The other thing is rebounding. 15-9 now for SIUE. Jacksonville State's one of the better rebounding margin teams, so they out-rebound their opponents on a regular basis, and I think they're 6.1 up in the OVC, plus 6.1 in the OVC.
Martin, tough finish. And the Gamecocks really needed that, going right over Brandon Jackson. Martin, a true freshman, a top 5 recruit in the state of Oklahoma, coming out of Yukon High School last year. And now a push-off called on SIUE as we go to break. Despite the turnover, it's been all Cougars so far. Kinshin from way downtown from the Vidalabine Center.
For the best deals.
09, the most skilled, professional, and dependable electrical workers in the industry. Cougars have led from the opening tip, looking to pull the upset over Jacksonville State. Have hit 4 threes so far to help open up this 14-point margin. It's been a little bit of Henry early. We've seen it from Kinshin, McCoy as well.
And that's been really something that has been, you know, something we've seen from this team over the last few weeks is that it's not always the same guys stepping up. We talked about McFarland. Jalen McCoy had a run where he had a couple of really nice games. You talked about Brandon Jackson, and that's what makes SIUE tough to defend, is that they can do it from several different spots.
We talked to Ray Harper. That was the big thing. He said they had a lot of talent and athleticism spread out throughout the roster, and that's proven to be true so far, as Martin trying to lead the Gamecocks back into it. 4 straight field goals made now for Jacksonville State. Martin the last 2.
Well, and again, if you are the Cougars, it's got to be pedal to the metal philosophy. That's got to be your mentality, is to keep driving and keep trying to extend this score out.
Fouls an issue early in this game. Both teams with multiple guys at the 2-foul threshold. And now SIUE here, as we near the 2-minute mark, trying to sustain that double-digit advantage against the team, Jacksonville State, that has been so good in second halves this year, especially when they've started slow.
And that, even more of a reason that if you can extend that, if you can make it 12, 15 points at half, do everything you can to get there.
Burnell, though, able to block McCoy. Here is Gregory. Tough shot over a wet, won't go, but there's Burnell on the follow, and it's back to 10 as John Harris takes time for SIUE.
Now, this is a little bit of a luxury because you've got Jacksonville State making a run, and you still find yourself up 10. And
State, and they are desperate for somebody to step up, with Malcolm Drumright, Christian Cunningham, and Norbertus Giga all on the bench with 2 personals. Out of the timeout with the 2:24 left on our first half clock here on Community Day in Edwardsville. Nice crowd filling into the Vidalabine Center. It's the Cougars trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. They've led throughout, and there's McFarland. Beautiful drive to the cup and able to finish. And despite this recent run from Jacksonville State, the offense finally getting into a rhythm, Joe. SIUE has had an answer, it seems like, every time. With another foul called on the interior. That's on Wet.
Nice job. Really quick transition passes right there. And excellent outlet to David McFarland to finish that off. Really, really nicely done breaking that press.
Martin back at the line for Jacksonville State. And it's been Martin who's started to come on strong now. 7 points to lead all Gamecock scores. As you see there, only about a 3.5 per game score on the season, as he goes 1 of 2. So Jacksonville State trying to ratchet up the defensive pressure. That's something, Joe, you figured that SIUE was going to prepare for with how well the Gamecocks have been defensively, and the hosts have handled it pretty well.
They have. That's without a doubt.
Brandon Jackson halfway down and out. How did it not go in? And the Gamecocks can run the other way with Tyreek Edwards going down. And another foul called. It's Benton.
That's his first. To the line shooting 2, number 3, Tyreek Edwards.
So it's Edwards, the sophomore, former Mr. Basketball nominee in the state of Kentucky, who started his career as a walk-on. This is the first. Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays from 8:30 to 11 a.m. only on FS1. And Edwards, again, another point, Joe, we can make about the depth. Edwards has started 3 games this year. He's now about the 9th, 10th guy off the bench. And when we talked to Ray Harper, he said they're still looking to figure out their rotations even this late in the year, which is kind of incredible.
Hard to imagine. You're right.
In the meantime, though, Benton continues a fantastic first half for SIUE.
Good touch. Nice spin from Justin Benton, and everybody but Billowette now in the scoring column for SIUE.
First bucket of the day for Benton. Cougars led by Jalen Henry, who scored 10 points in 8 minutes. On the drive! Did that ball go in? I thought it did. From Gregory. An incredible drive to the bucket, but did that ball go in?
We saw Brandon Jackson at the other end spin one out. It actually came out underneath, so...
Yeah,
now you can see Burnell trying to fire up the Jacksonville State bench.
A thunderous slam from Jamal Gregory. I think some of the Cougar fans, that happened so fast they couldn't see that ball go down. But it does for the former South Carolina Gamecock, now at Jacksonville State. And here the steal from Gregory. Up ahead. And a run coming now as Edwards gets the lay-in. It's down to an 8-point game. Exactly what the Gamecocks needed.
The steal by Gregory, the pretty behind the back. I don't even know if it was an intentional pass here at midcourt. Cougars just need to keep their heads. Composure huge right here.
With the 10-second or so differential, Cougars have led since the opening tap. And now a travel called on Brandon Jackson. So for the first time, Jacksonville State showing some life, and Ray Harper calls time as they look to set up for a final shot. I think the crowd a little bit stunned by that dunk from Gregory, and that certainly, Joe, is
a double-digit lead.
And so with those 3 starters on the bench with 2 personals as well, we knew the bench would play a big role in this one for the Gamecocks, and it's ended up being a necessity in the end.
Greg Renegarby is going over the table. You got to look there at Ray Harper. He's saying, this is where my line is. You know, they've extended the coach's box this year almost to halfway, and he's right on the edge of the line there, but he was being told to scoot back by the official.
It's been a testy first half here, a lot of fouls called. And a slow, sloppy game at times, featuring a late flurry of points here from both sides, particularly Jacksonville State. Was a chance here as they hold for one to get this to a 2-possession game. It's Edwards off the screen for Gregory, and back to Edwards. Has to hurry. Dunlap just gets it away, but the shot is too strong. And we hit halftime with the Cougars nursing an 8-point advantage over Jacksonville State. So led early by Jalen Henry with 10. The Cougars build up the advantage and have been able to sustain 7 points apiece for Gregory and Martin, leading Jacksonville State. It's a good one here on Fox Sports Midwest.
This is Innovative Health Education. These are the future leaders of healthcare. This is Logan University.
Home. It's where we make our memories, build our future, and live the American dream. Now's the time to make that dream a reality. Visit GatewayRealtors.com to locate a realtor who'll guide you home.
Every day for over 90 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been sending love to the rescue, regardless of a family's ability to pay.
If you know a child we can help, call or go online now.
Hi, I'm John Hewlett. When you need an electrician, Make sure your contractor is using workers from IBEW Local 309. Members of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers have over 100 years of service to our community. They're the most skilled, professional, and dependable electrical workers in the industry. They can perform any task, from helping you go green with solar or LED lighting to homes and bridges, co-ops, and utilities. Insist on electrical workers from IBEW Local 309.
Visit Runwell at 142 North Main in Edwardsville. Runwell is your full-service running, walking specialty store featuring footwear, apparel, and nutrition. Whether you're a runner, walker, or just need comfortable shoes to work in, Runwell can help.
Trend today, but especially important today against the Jacksonville State team, who have been so good in second half, started their second half Thursday night on an 11-0 run.
All you got to do, Ben, is look at the standings in the OVC, and you see how jammed up those spots are. 4 or 5 down to 8, and you realize that all these wins are huge, and the Cougars just have to come out, start this half the same way they started the first half, and things should go your way if you're SIUE.
Jason Burnell inside continues the run for Jacksonville State, who got a couple big buckets right at the end of the first half, including a huge jam, as you saw in our highlight package coming out of the break from Jamal Gregory. And so now back to within 6. SIUE led by as many as 16 in that first half. At 3-8 in the OVC on the year, that's tied for 8th out of the 12 spots, and only 8 teams get in to the OVC tournament. So, as you're saying, Joe, with how bunched up everything is, every game is crucial.
It is. Every single game.
Henry back in for SIUE, picked up 2 personals after an early 10 points, and on the double clutch is able to score.
I mean, he was literally bouncing off a couple of defenders right in front of the basket right there, still able to fade away and have the touch to drop it in.
Henry yet to miss, a perfect 5 of 5 from the field. Jacksonville State gets its starters back in, had 3 with 2 fouls, including Malcolm Drumright on the preseason All-OVC team, but he has really struggled so far. Comes up short there, just 2 points. Jacksonville State looking to reverse that first half start where they missed their first 4 shots. Here it's Henry well off the mark from 3. As Drumright brings it up. He's had a fantastic career for the Gamecocks. Gets it inside the Giga. Nice little drop step to move to his left around Henry. Another player, a slow start in the first half. Giga barely did anything before picking up 2 fouls.
Just has 4 points now with that made basket.
So you have Drumright, Cunningham, and Giga all back in, playing with 2 fouls for Jacksonville State. Jalen Henry, Keenan Simmons with the 2 personals for SIUE. And it's Henry called for a push-off. That's a massive call. It's the 3rd on the Cougar senior.
I mean, 2 minutes into the second half, and now you're talking about Jalen Henry in some legit foul trouble.
And that's exactly how he picked up one of his 2 fouls in the first half, Joe.
With a push-off, yeah, you're exactly right. And we said, it was pretty evident early on that there was going to be a lot of whistles. They were going to call most of the contact out there tonight.
There were 24 fouls called in the first half as both teams were in the double bonus before we reached the 10-minute mark. Here is Giga. Looks to go up and under. Leaves that short. Battle for the board, and it comes to Justin Benton of SIUE.
Big rebound right there for the Cougars.
And is then fouled in transition.
Foul is called on Jacksonville State, number 14, Jason
Burnell called on the block. And I mentioned that 11-0 run Jacksonville State went on to start the half Thursday night at Eastern Illinois. Ended up outscoring EIU 44-27 en route to a comeback 19-point win.
Which is exactly what you want to do your best to, just not letting them get in a rhythm, not letting them get comfortable and get into a run that allows them to make a comeback like that.
Benton just off on the stop and pop. And it's Cunningham, one of the best rebounders all time in Jacksonville State history with the board. Back to Giga. Too strong on the baby hook. That's
another good rebound. That's 2 one-and-dones now on that side for Jacksonville State.
And a spot on the floor Giga loves. He just has not been able to get it going. About a 9-point-a-game scorer on the year for Jacksonville State, but they remain down by 6, have never led in this one. Kinchin from NBA range. mid-range off the mark. Tipped up to Benton, who draws contact and goes back to the line.
Great rebound by Justin Benton, and an even better head fake to draw the contact from Justin Benton.
And now Burnell picks up 2 fouls here in about a minute span, and he has 3.
Watch the rebound first. Chases down, and then there's the head fake, and that's what causes Cunningham to bite.
I think we might have had another technical called, and we do.
Technical foul was called on Jacksonville State, number 31.
The greatest day in all of racing returns this February. The Daytona 500 kicks off the new season. It's President's Day weekend, only on Fox. And they call the technical on Christian Cunningham, so he picks up his 4th. Wow. And that was well after the foul, but the clock stopped. And so for the second time, Daniel Kinchin, a 90% free throw shooter, gets some technical throws.
I can't tell you the last time I've seen 2 technical fouls called in a game. You see a technical foul every now and then, and of course we saw the first half with a little bit of a push, but man, 2 technicals in a game is not something that you get very often.
And so without that defensive presence, Joe, we saw the impact it had in the first half against the best defensive team in the OVC. Cougars were able to put up 38 first half points, and now Cunningham has to go sit down. You figure he would be there for at least 7-8 minutes. As it's Benton who gets the second free throw, and Cougars back up by 9. It's one thing I don't think we anticipated, Jacksonville State shooting themselves in the foot. Such a disciplined veteran team that went to the NCAA tournament last year.
And again, couple that with what we maybe also didn't expect, and a hot shooting start for SIUE, slow start for Jacksonville State. And it's like, you know, you kind of feel things are snowballing on Jacksonville State.
But a foul called inside on the Cougars. It's Christian Ellis. His second personal. I guess the one thing, though, we saw all the fouls in the first half. If you're on the court, you have to figure that that's not going to suddenly change here in the second.
Right. You'd hope not.
So both teams with 3 early personals, including the tech, as it's Gregory on the drive. He's bumped and nearly gets the and one after being hit by Brandon Jackson.
All kinds of off balance right there from Gregory. He was on 1 foot, falling over, and still that shot almost went down. He was really, and there was some contact. I think he was starting to lose his balance in the process, so it all just made it look even crazier than it was.
Gregory in and out. He was anticipated to be a top rotation guy, potentially a starter at South Carolina going into his sophomore year, but was kicked off the team right at the end of his freshman year and ended up being the beneficiary of Ray Harper at Jacksonville State after spending a year at the JUCO level.
And Ben, the reality is that if you're an OVC team and you can benefit from that, then you do it. If you have the opportunity to maybe get a little bit of a reclamation project, or, you know, let's be honest, when you're a freshman in college, there's you know, sometimes you're not thinking straight. And so, you know, if Ray Harper brings him on and is confident that, hey, you know, he's seen his errors or whatever the case may be, and if you're an OVC team and you have a chance to take that kind of talent, you jump on it.
And Marlon Hunter fits the bill. He was with Harper at Western Kentucky before being suspended and kicked off. Same with Norbertus Giga. So it really has been something that Harper has been able to formulate and bring into a top team in the OVC. But it was a travel there on the last possession. McFarland can't hit the 3, and it goes out of bounds.
That was real close to where he had the last second shot against Tennessee Tech on Thursday night.
So 4 minutes in here to our second half. SIUE led by 16 in the first. Jacksonville State has been trying to chip away, and they do a little more here. Burnell in the corner for 3. All of a sudden, a 5-point game, and nearly a steal forced down in the corner. It's last off Gregory. But the Gamecocks with some momentum as we head the break from the Vanalladine Center. Burnell in the corner, and we have a game.
Now available to buy or rent on DirecTV Cinema.
Leading it by 5 over Jacksonville State, but the Gamecocks on an extended 21-10 run. Joe, a lot of that production has come inside.
Yeah, it has, and that's something that, you know, the Jacksonville State can get back in a game with. When you talk about you're facing a big lead, you're trying to chip away, you're trying to make a run. You want high percentage shots. You want to get to the basket. In the first half, they had 18 points in the paint, and that's something that, you know, that's how they're going to try to get back in this game. Of course, it was a big 3 right before the break, but the fact remains that that's the best way to try to really chip into a lead.
So the stout defensive unit, Jacksonville State, trying to show some full court pressure. Daniel Kinchin can't hit on the mid-range. And the drought continues for SIUE now, over 3.5 minutes without a field goal. Giga inside. And the big 7-footer from Lithuania makes it a one-possession game.
It's exactly what we were just talking about, Ben. Getting to the basket, those high percentage shots, and making the run that way.
Simmons strong to the cup, and he's fouled.
That's a big turn on the other side for SIUE, and I was just holding my breath that they weren't going to call a charge right there.
Third personal on Giga.
One shot, King Simmons.
A nice spin by Ellis to lay that off. And the finish for the big man, Simmons. Quite a big size disadvantage there, too, Joe, with right? The 6'6" Simmons against the 7-footer. Unable to finish right here. Again, SIUE has led from the outset, but with Jalen Henry on the bench, they've been leaking some oil. He has 3 personals. Back to Giga on the give and go. And a travel called before the shot attempt by Hunter.
It's not quite as tough to take if you're Jacksonville State because that ball didn't go in, man. But if that ball goes down and then he gets called for the travel, that would have been really tough.
9th Jacksonville State turnover. We've tried to just slowly chip away. Got it to within 8 right before the halftime break.
Again, I'll repeat what I said at the end of the first half. It's got to be about composure for SIUE. They cannot panic as Jacksonville State. You know Jacksonville State's going to make this run. They're going to try to do everything they can to get back into the game. You've got to stay composed.
Kinchin short on a 3. Well contested by Ashton Spears. Drumright draws contact, but they call it the other way. An offensive foul on the senior leader for the Gamecocks. And it's his 3rd. He can't believe it.
Wow. I mean, that's tough, obviously. I mean, that's the toughest call anyway, block versus charge. But, you know, I know it's frustrating, obviously, if you're a player. Either way it gets called, it's going to be frustrating.
Benton has it knocked out of bounds. And it stays here with SIUE. Ellis getting set to inbound. And in a game that's featured quite a few fouls, a couple of techs called, it's been chippy, and that continues here. Giga called for his 4th. So you have the bigs, Giga and Cunningham, each with 4. Now I think they just changed it to
Drumright.
Drumright, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. He has 4.
You're right. You're exactly right.
Either way, all the fouls now for Jacksonville State really hurting the Gamecocks. You could argue that's almost bigger of a loss for Drumright to have to sit down. Leading scorer and shooter on this team.
Which I think would normally be true. He's struggled a little bit today, though. 2 points for Drumright, so where I think on the other side, Jalen Henry's had that production for you early in the game, so Drumright hasn't been as instrumental here this afternoon. Now that also could explain why at one point SIUE was leading by 16 in this game. But
and Burnell's called for the foul here. That's really been the difference. I mean, you look at Henry, only played 10 minutes, but 12 points, and then on the other side, Drumright, the struggle's just the 2.
Right. But, you know, we talked about it at the beginning. That's kind of where Jalen Henry was on Thursday night.
We are getting ready for Cardinals spring training Wednesday night on Cardinals Warm-Up here on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals Warm-Up is brought to you by your Mid-America Chevy dealers. It's Wednesday at 6 on Fox Sports Midwest as we get another foul called on Jacksonville State off the miss from Brandon Jackson. And it's the 7th already this half on the Gamecocks. So can the Cougars take advantage? This lead is slowly dwindled away, but SIUE has been able to answer at almost every critical moment, and they do again with Ellis.
Nothing pretty about that, just effective. Just get it to go down, push that lead back to 8.
Hard-nosed sophomore from Oakland, California. Puts SIUE back up 8. Giga's been the best player for the Gamecocks in this second half, and he gets the baby hook to rattle through.
That's 6 second-half points now for Norbertus Giga.
He hasn't had the senior year he was hoping for, but is starting to round into form after 30 points in the NCAA tournament last year. Now it's starting to open up. Benton banks it in. And so after a very slow start in the second half for both teams, each offense getting into a flow. Back down low, block, but a foul on Simmons. With Burnell going right at him. Third personal on Simmons as we get another look.
14, Jason Burnell.
And Joe, at least for Jacksonville State, it's been exclusively touches in the paint now these last few minutes.
Damn, that's tough because it looked like Keenan Simmons had a lot of ball. I mean, it looked like he had all balls, and he was frustrated, obviously, as he picks up his third. But
Simmons takes a seat. He and Henry now each with 3 as Billowette comes back in. With the 76% foul shooter, Jason Burnell, leading the way for the Gamecocks now with 12 points. He has really stepped up over the past 5 games for this Gamecock squad. McFarland nearly turns it over.
Lucky didn't get called for a travel.
And now Wet does. Probably not the spot you want Wet with the ball on the floor. The big man got caught with it on the perimeter.
And that was kind of a broken play from really as they got into the front court, Ben, and they just really hadn't settled themselves.
Both teams into double-digit turnovers, as you see there. It's something, the pressure we expected to see from Jacksonville State. They just haven't had a whole lot of chances to apply it. But continue to feed the paint. Here it's Edwards who dribbles out. Back to Giga, but that one won't go. Off a foot underneath, and it's last off SIUE. Henry does come back in, so there's the answer to our question, Joe. How long would the Cougars keep Henry on the bench after picking up his 3rd foul? But he's back in there. Cam Martin, who had a good run of play in the first half, returns for Jacksonville State.
Again, you're talking about somebody effective inside, under the basket.
Martin, though, double-teamed, and Henry able to scoop that over to a Wet. Helps ID from Ellis.
Our stats man, Chris Bray over here, is settling them down from the sideline. It's exactly what John Harris was doing. Relax a little bit.
Good ball movement here as it finds Ellis on the wing. A lot of the fans here feeling a little bit of nerves as this one continues to be a tight game as we get towards crunch time. But yet another foul called, and it means free throws for SIUE. Ashton Spears is the culprit this time, and for Ray Harper, it's been a lot of that look throughout the day today. A lot of pacing and
large
frustration.
And long size exhales from Coach Harper, no question.
Ellis gets the free throw. You think, too, Joe, we were talking about the improved confidence from Ellis, that has maybe transitioned into his free throw shooting, was just 55% on the year. He's looked a lot better.
100% do. I absolutely do, and I feel like it is. Of course,
he goes 1 for 2, but it was sub 50% earlier in the year. He's raised it about 6-7 percentage points.
Cougars fall into a 2-3 zone now here as Jacksonville State brings it up.
As you can see, both teams have left some points at the line, but it is the Cougars on top by 7. Gregory thought about the open 3. Now drives and misses the dunk. A wide open lane for Gregory. It's been that type of day for Jacksonville State. As it's the Cougars on top by 7. Thanks to Christian Ellis getting it done in the paint. 9, the most skilled, professional, and dependable electrical workers in the industry. A picture-perfect February afternoon community day here in Edwardsville. A little chilly outside, but that has not kept the fans away, and they're trying to see the Cougars pull off the upset over last year's OVC champions, Jacksonville State. And going into our last break, a missed dunk from Jamal Gregory really, Joe, has summarized the type of day it's been for Ray Harper and the Gamecocks.
Yeah, it's been frustrating at times, and through all that, they have to know that, it's still in their reach if you're Jacksonville State.
First miss of the day for Jalen Henry, and it leads to a fast break chance. Spears hard to the hole, can't get it, but Martin is right there for the tip-in.
Just that tip-in, just points in the paint, piling up for Jacksonville State.
And so now back to a 5-point game. McFarland answers in the corner.
That is a much-needed three-point basket. Just extend it out a little bit more breathing room if you're the Cougars.
SIUE has never trailed, led by 16 in the first half. That last bucket actually the tip in by Giga. So the big man back in there with 3 fouls for Jacksonville State as Spears launches but rims in and out, and Henry corrals the board. SIUE looking to snap a 5-game losing streak. Have had a couple heartbreakers in the past couple weeks. And they get it back to Henry. Playing with 12 points. Gets a chance to add on at the line as he is fouled by Spears. Actually, Burnell. So we've tracked this foul trouble issue, Joe, really from about the 15-minute mark of the first half, it seemed. And now up to 4 fouls is Burnell. He joins Drumright and Cunningham at that mark. Henry unable to hit on the first. Help support the cause. Donate to the Missouri Susan G. Komen Foundation. You can visit KomenMissouri.org/SIUE. The Pink Zone game. There's a women's game later tonight, as we heard from the women's head coach at halftime. Very nice season so far.
They're in great position, as a matter of fact. The women are 9-2 in OVC play.
And so the men sporting the pink shirts as well in support. Henry goes 1 of 2. Team high 13, a game high, in fact, for SIUE, and it's back to a 9-point margin. Cougars now showing a little token pressure in the backcourt as they have stymied this Jacksonville State offensive attack all day. And the Gamecock going deep down the bench. Maurice Dunlap runs the point right now against the zone look. To Gregory, that 3 way off the mark. And the Cougars can let it go out of bounds. That just hasn't been there all day. Only 2 3-point makes for Ray Harper and the Gamecocks.
I like the pressure. I like the zone. I like anything that's going to force a little bit of time to be taken off as well. If you're SIUE, that clock is your friend right now. You want to use that clock. They did it, I think, last time down the floor as well offensively. Now Christian Ellis is going to drive a little quicker.
And here we get a jump ball called with the arrow staying with the Cougars. That's a good point you make, Joe. Can SIUE, even you look at the game and clock management situation, keep the efficiency? Henry not close as he bricks a fall-away 3. And Spears another board. Gamecocks trying to find a spark. 4 starters with 4 fouls, but here a turnover. A wet up ahead to Ellis, and he's stripped. A good job by Spears, the sophomore, to get back.
Excellent, and to not foul right there. He was able to poke the ball away, and you don't get the foul, and it's You know, sometimes you think it's a given that if there's contact right there on a fast break that it's a foul, but he did a really good job. Waited till Ellis was going to bring that up. Just knocked it free right there. Excellent job by Ashton Spears.
And then turned over on the inbounds as Gregory gets the steal. Gregory loses it out of bounds. Looked like he might have been tripped up on the way, but the officials say he was over himself. And yet another Jacksonville State turnover.
Both teams piling up the turnovers on that stretch.
25 combined. Ray Harper, you can see they're looking for the foul, but none given. Keenan Simmons, by the way, back in for SIUE. Henry will get a breather. Both of those players with 3 personals as the Cougars trying to go wire to wire against an NCAA tournament team from a year ago. Kinchin on the pirouette. Got into some trouble on the double team, but it's last touched by Jacksonville State. Gregory was right there to pick it up and let it go out of bounds.
Malcolm Drumright. Drumright for Drumright.
Now Malcolm Drumright's checking back in. Playing with 4 personals.
10 to shoot now for the Cougars. They've got to be smart.
Ellis has made a couple nice drives this half. He stutters, gets in the paint, and puts it in.
Keenan Simmons was almost like a tailback there, forcing them out of the way. Blazed the trail for Christian Ellis.
So here's Malcolm Drumright on pace to become the all-time leader in games started later this year for Jacksonville State, but he's been slowed down today, just 2 points and 4 fouls. Left open for 3, and hits.
A good look from Cam Martin. Was posting up there, saw that Drumright was open, gave him a nice easy pass, and Drumright has a easy 3, or at least an open look from 3.
Just the 3rd triple hit all afternoon for Jacksonville State. Simmons down low. Given the baby hook over Giga, and he takes advantage. Nice controlled look there from Simmons, the Cougar senior. Drumright, can he do it again? Yes, he can.
This time it was Giga with the good feed. Just a touch pass right back out to the wing.
And then turned over off the inbounds by SIUE. All of a sudden, Drumright heating up for Jacksonville State as the Gamecocks try to come back. A 7-point lead for the Cougars with under 8 heat up and made just 1 basket until making 2 triples in a row right before that last break. And so the Gamecocks, who came out of the gate sluggish, went down 16, have gotten it back to 7. And there's Drumright, a wild shot. Looked like that hit the end line. And it does, back to SIUE.
Drumright had a look for 3 again from the wing right there. He passed it up.
And Henry back in with the 3 personals. 13 points in 13 minutes for Henry.
And you want him on the offensive end. You want his scoring touch, especially the way he's shooting today. Much better than we saw on Thursday night.
Ellis with the look to Henry, but dribbled it right off his knee. Comes right to Spears. And the sophomore goes hard. Giga can't get the follow. A big block with a foul call on Martin as he goes to the basket.
The foul came on the floor. It was Benton who got whistled for that foul. But 2 tries, no good. And then the 3rd try and the big block from Keenan Simmons, which actually doesn't get recorded because the foul came first.
And so it's Martin at the stripe. He's really been efficient so far. Has struggled a bit at the line. Now 2 of 4, but certainly a spark, Joe, that Jacksonville State was desperately needing with how slow they came out to start today.
Well, and he kind of provided that run towards the end of the first half there, helped them get back in it. And now again, we see them go to him underneath. So he's going to go sit on the bench, but he's the kind of guy clearly they can count on for a couple of hoops when they need to get back into a game. They pulled it within 5 again.
In this comeback attempt, it's been 3. That was the closest, but Jacksonville State has never been able to climb the mountain. Still a lot of time left in Edwardsville. Ellis gets inside. Bounce pass to Simmons, but it's stripped again. A nice defensive play by Spears, who's been really good on that end in this half.
Good feed from Christian Ellis. And another good strip, and it's Spears for the second time in a row, as you mentioned, who's done a nice job under the basket.
Not afraid to put their bench guys in big situations. It's McFarland. How about that? Just when you needed it, McFarland delivers.
A couple of times today, Ben, we've seen the Cougars, or we've seen Jacksonville State climb within 5, climb within 4, and then a big 3 a couple of times. Cougars don't have a ton of threes, but they've got some big threes at big times today.
Up to double digits for McFarland. And once again, every time the Gamecocks make a run, a big answer from SIUE. Jacksonville State going inside out. Shot clock running down. It's Spears. Off the mark. Henry able to tip it over to Ellis.
A good idea right there from Ellis. Pull that back and slow down.
SIUE has not beaten Jacksonville State since New Year's Day 2015.
It was almost a kick.
Henry again fumbles the ball. Second straight time the senior has been unable to handle a pass, and it's a turnover back to the Gamecocks. 14th of the day for SIUE. Spears again left open. Again unable to hit from downtown. And McFarland an uncontested board. Spears a pretty solid three-point shooter at 37%. And Joe, you can't complain about those looks he's gotten.
Yeah, no, you're right.
The Alabine Center. The St. Louis Blues are back in action and look to bounce back tonight as they take on the Buffalo Sabres. Our coverage begins at 5:30 with Toyota Blues Live. Puck drop is just after 6 here on Fox Sports Midwest. Joe, I don't think we were expecting the Cougars to lead wire to wire. That's what they're trying to pull off today. It was as high as 16 in the first half. Jacksonville State, the NCAA tournament participant from a year ago, had tried to rally time and again, and the Cougars have held strong. But here they give it up. It's Gregory, a hard foul as he goes down. Officials immediately make the signal of a flagrant.
So that's difficult because that's going to be 2 shots for Jacksonville State. That's then going to keep the possession in Jacksonville State.
Yeah, the intentional on Benton, and you really can't argue too much against it.
Right.
And as we were coming back from break, that's really the one thing you wanted to avoid, a careless turnover and an easy run out.
Without a doubt. And now you're going to give them the 2 free shots. You're going to give them the ball back on possession. So it's an opportunity if you're Jacksonville State to get right into the mix in this game.
Saw John Harris coaching up Justin Benton a moment ago. Another big measuring stick for his program. And they've made so many strides this year, Joe, have really improved defensively. It seems like when they play good defensively, the offense hasn't been there, and then vice versa. So to pull this one out, you feel like for a program that has struggled as SIUE has would be just massive going down the stretch here.
And you're right. It's putting it all together. And Coach Harris has told us a couple of times it's learning how to win and learning how to continue that success if you're SIUE.
We get a foul called on the inbounds, and that's free throws now as SIUE goes over the limit. So you get 2 free throws made by Gregory, and now Drumright heads to the line where he's 4th in the conference in free throw shooting at 90%, just like Daniel Kinchin. On the flip side, if you're Jacksonville State, they've been in this spot before. They have played some ugly games that they've been able to eventually grind down and win. And I guess if you're Ray Harper, you don't mind the spot you're in right now, considering how poor of a performance it was in the first half.
And you lean on that and you pull from your past experience. And if you're Ray Harper, you tell them, look, we've been here and we've come out on the plus side in games like this. Keep doing what you're doing.
Here they trap Ellis, able to get rid of it to Henry. As the Cougars reset nearing the 5-minute mark, leading by 5. Little stop and start. Ellis is blocked. Ball pinballed around, and it's last off Jacksonville State.
They have to stay smart here. 5 seconds on the shot clock. They had some good ball movement to start that possession. They were using some clock.
So 5 to work with here. Benton coming back in for Kitchen. And a lot of foul issues. Burnell, Drumright, Cunningham, all with 4 personals for Jacksonville State. As it's Simmons inside. A great look off the inbounds. And he banks it in over Giga.
Really, really good. Got that ball in. Got the points. Feel a little bit better. It's 6 points.
Now it's Jacksonville State, especially given the fact he's 7 feet.
So, yep.
But regardless, it gives the Cougars that advantage back up to 7 and out of the timeout, each with 2 to work with down the stretch. Gamecocks have had a lot of good looks going with the inside-out game. Here it's Gregory. The lefty spots up, but that's way short. McFarland couldn't get the board, and then a foul called, trying to rip that away. And it's on McFarland. Unlucky break as that ball popped right out of his hands as he tried to turn up court.
Let's take a look and see. It was just, yeah, you're right. It came right to him there, and goodness.
So it's Giga, 71% foul shooter at the line. He's been slowed by the foul trouble, but has still managed to put up 10 points, 5 boards, and here he leaves the front end short. Big miss for Jacksonville State, who are, if they have a weakness, it is at the free throw line, and have missed 7 there today. There's Simmons falling away. That won't go. And Cunningham back in there with the 4 personals. Snags the board. There's Cunningham inside. Beautifully uses the baseline. And gets it back to a 5-point game.
Keenan Simmons had him cut off. He was able to spin out of it and give himself more space.
And now under 4 to play from the Vidalabine Center. SIUE loses of 5 in a row. Wanting a win so badly in John Harris's 3rd year as they try to get into the OVC tournament. Ellis runs out of space, but a good kick out. McFarland, an open look, won't go off the pass from Simmons.
Cunningham's hard to defend on the backside there. That's a lot of size.
Spears a bit out of control, too strong. And Henry able to get the board. Cougars slow it down as we near the 3-minute mark to play. Tension rising with every possession here in Edwardsville.
It's, you know, these times it just has to be good possessions. You'd obviously like to come out with points. If you don't, though, you have to feel good about the possession, and it starts with taking some time off the clock.
Henry on the double team. Leaves the baby hook short, and Giga there for the board. Henry was so good in the first half and has really struggled here. Hasn't been able to.
Because Jacksonville State, you have to believe in that huddle. They're saying, hey, we're not out of it. We're within a couple of shots. And if you're SIUE, you just have to keep pushing.
Henry able to get the deflection on that entry look for Giga. SIUE started off the year really good. 6-1 in those games decided by 5 or less. Have lost 2 of those, though, in a row, each by a point. And each coming on their home court, the Vidalabine Center.
And I think, Ben, games maybe you feel like you shouldn't have lost. So now count this one as a game maybe you feel like you're going to steal one. So you've got to get that game back somewhere. And this is a chance to get one of those games back if you're SIUE and if you can hold off and hold on and finish them off here over the last 2:30.
Meanwhile, 15th turnover as the travel was called right before that shot released. A day where Ray Harper and his Jacksonville State team playing from behind the whole way.
They average less than 13 turnovers a game coming in.
And McFarland hits a huge one. 3rd triple for McFarland. And the Cougars lead it by 8 with just over 2 to go. Drumright on the drive and kick. Gamecocks desperate now for an answer. Giga short on the mid-range. Ellis goes down. And
he got a timeout. Yes. Well done by Christian Ellis. He just completely lost his balance. But get that timeout. Don't give him a chance to force a jump there.
Ray Harper irate. They didn't give the jump ball, and Jacksonville State does have the arrow. So SIUE takes its final timeout up 67-59, trying to...
In the second half. Cougars as a team have only got 3 threes in the second half.
So some full court pressure shown by Jacksonville State. And if you're tuning in, waiting for Indiana State and Northern Iowa, we have that coming up right after we get done here from the Vidalabine Center, where the 7-15 Cougars looking to pull the upset of the year for them. McFarland, well short, knew it right away, was able to get a piece of that ball, and it's knocked off of Cunningham. Stays SIUE basketball.
Ray Harper begging them to come over and look at it at the monitor to review it on the replay, and they're going to. As soon as that ball was called on SIUE or for SIUE, he was up yelling.
That looks like it's off Cunningham to me, Joe.
I agree with you. He was over the top of Jalen Henry, but I don't, at least as far as we could tell, it didn't look like Jalen ever got a piece of that.
I don't see how you can overturn that. It looked pretty clear-cut to me.
I think it's a good call. I think you're right. Now, that said, I don't have a problem also with going to look at a play like this.
Yeah. Oh, and with McFarland there, a great fundamental play. How many times, Joe, do you see a shooter not follow up a shot even when it's way off? And there McFarland did that. Was probably the difference, is he was able to just get that nudge on Cunningham, and you saw from that ISO shot there, it clearly looked to be off of Cunningham last.
One of those fundamental things they always talk about, fouling his shot, crashing the boards, and Henry was there for that, but you're right, McFarland chasing after it is probably the difference in that play. You can see they're looking at the exact same view that we got to look at.
Officials Greg Renegarby, Colin Dotson, and Eric Lowe have had a tough assignment today. A chippy game throughout. Both teams were in the double bonus only about 9 minutes into the first half. Both coaches have really been forced to shuffle the lineups in the second half, but the issue for Jacksonville State, after nearly completing the comeback, had the game within 3 and have suddenly gone cold. One of their last 9 from the field.
Yeah, it certainly looked, you had the intentional foul call, which gave up a couple of free throws. They had it back. They had possession. They had hit a couple of big shots, and you're right. They have cooled off considerably, and through all of that, that's where, if you're SIUE, you have to just kind of relax and stay the course and do what's gotten you here to this point in this game.
The only wins in the OVC this year for SIUE against Tennessee State, Eastern Kentucky, and Morehead State. So to beat one of the powers right now, Jacksonville State, who gave Louisville a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament last year, top 3, a team that a lot of people think are favorites right now to win the OVC tournament. This would be massive for this SIUE program. Looking for its first OVC tournament appearance under head coach John Harris. And they also have the fresh shot clock as well. Look at the back door!
What a look from Jalen Henry, and McFarland caps it off, and he's got 15.
Trying to put this one on ice. Now a 10-point lead with under 1:30 to go. And now Ellis picks up the foul. His 4th personal.
Watch the give from Jalen Henry. Right behind the back, and David McFarland doesn't miss. 15 to lead all scorers this afternoon for David McFarland. Good look from the dunk can there.
Drumright gets the front end of the 1-and-1. Tyreek Edwards back in. So Jacksonville State, one of the best defensive teams, not only in the OVC, but in the country. Breaking down there, you figure, though, Joe, off the make will set up some pressure.
Yeah, because they're getting to the point now they're going to have to force a turnover. They need to make a run.
And no timeouts left, by the way, for SIUE, so McFarland just gets it in. Ellis comes ahead and has it knocked out of bounds. Last off of Ellis. That's huge, especially with the clock being your friend if you're SIUE, and he goes right into a triple team.
I would have much rather seen him turn it out on a wing and hold on to it for a little bit. He saw an opening, thought he was going to add to the lead, but...
Oh, great find. No-look pass from Gregory to Giga. And it's back to a 6-point game. Again, no timeouts left for the Cougars. Benton swims through a double team and gets rid of it. SIUE gets it across half court. And now fouled. Benton, a 63% shooter from the line. He'll get 2 free throws.
Jacksonville State number 0, Jamal Gregory. His first.
Well, SIUE is going to get the opportunity to ice this game at the foul line if they can knock down those shots.
And they did actually give one timeout back to SIUE, by the way, so that's a pretty big distinction. They were showing 0 left on the scoreboard earlier. And so a situation like that, Joe, where
when Ellis called it, when he fell, you're right. Interesting. I don't know if, I guess somebody had the count wrong.
A big first free throw from Benton and makes both. 8-point margin.
Number 30, checks in for the Gamecocks.
So Jacksonville State needs a lot to go their way in the final 45 seconds. Drum right, goes all the way around and comes off Henry the board. And the Gamecocks needing to foul, but here they force a turnover. And then it's SIUE who are called for the foul. Gregory gets 2 free throws. John Harris beside himself on the SIUE sideline. I was waiting there for the foul to come, and I guess a smart job, Joe, by Martin to avoid it.
Yeah, he did a really nice job. Just stood him up right there against the baseline.
And now Gregory hits the free throw.
Checking in number 31, Christian Cunningham, number 3, Tony Edwards.
Cougars as a team this year have struggled at the line, just 68%, 10th in the league. So can they hit their throws down the stretch? Gregory gets both. Back to a 6-point game. McFarland can run the sideline, gets it into Simmons, and he's grabbed right away by Edwards. Simmons, for a pretty good foul shooter, 75%.
Foul call on Jacksonville State, number 3.
Well, this is what I meant. SIUE can ice this game. This is where they can win this game, but you've got to keep knocking down your free throws.
Both teams in the double bonus. Simmons with 10 points today. The senior from Michigan City, Indiana. And he gets the first. For Jacksonville State, Joe, you've been so good getting the ball inside and getting points in the paint. But you're probably at a spot now, right? You have to start looking at threes pretty exclusively, don't you think?
Yeah, to try to close this gap, unfortunately. And for a team that's, middle of the road as far as three-point shooting team, nothing off the charts.
So down to our final 30 seconds. Gregory inside, uncontested layup. Still, though, a 6-point game. And the Cougars able to get it in with ease. Needing a foul here is Jacksonville State, assuming SIUE gets it over the timeline. And all sorts of time elapsing. Finally, the foul taken by Cam Martin. And about 12-13 seconds come off the clock before the foul. That puts the Gamecocks in a really tough position, even if Simmons can't hit these free throws.
Cougars did a nice job passing it through the pressure in the backcourt. Ellis did a nice job just to put his head down and get it into the front court.
And he gets the first.
Keenan Simmons taking care of business. A new season high for him. 12 points. That's his third make. 13 points. That's his third make at the free throw line now.
So for Simmons and Henry, such a big win for them to get. The two seniors, they've been through a lot and a lot of struggles this year, but 10 seconds away from upsetting the defending OVC champs. And they will do it here today as Drumright dribbles it out of bounds. That's the last stand for Jacksonville State. And you see the emotion from Harris.
Yep, that's exactly right. There's a little relief there. The crowd rises to its feet.
The win of the year for SIUE. The Cougars go wire to wire Jacksonville State